Cardiovascular exercise or weight training, if you're doing them in the same session and need to, which one comes first? I had this wrong. So let's talk about it. Hey, I'm Deborah Atkinson. I'm the founder of Flipping 50. I founded Flipping 50 about 12 years ago while I'm doing this live. And I founded it for women in perimenopause, menopause transition, and postmenopause because it's different. Even though there's some science out there about how women are probably not as much different than men that we might have suspected, so many of the studies were on young athletic men who are age 25, not necessarily the same way. A woman who's 55 and easily stores fat with less muscle mass are going to function and respond to exercise. Turns out we're more like men than we are mice, who are often the other rodents studied in science, but we're also not young women. We're not our younger selves, even. If I compare the way I trained and the way I responded to training and the recovery I needed at 25, it's very different than what I need and respond to now. Actually respond and am more fit, doing less, but actually working a little bit harder in that session, not just longer or more frequently, but just less and punctuated, but more quality, not quantity. So moving, yes. Exercise, yes, but calculated. Overtraining actually increases your age, right? Nobody wants to do that. Don't make that mistake. But when it comes to what order do you do those exercises in, here's what I would have said years ago and did. I prefer personally, and I like it for my clients too, to do the cardio first and then the weight training afterward. But I would always say it this way. Do the one that's your highest priority first, because the second activity that you do is always going to be compromised because you're a little bit tired from having done the first one. So if you are really trying to build up muscle, you definitely want to do that one first. However, if we're organizing it so it's flows the best and it's the efficient use of time, we have to do a moving warm-up. So we're starting to do the cardiovascular workout before the strength training anyway. That's why I would put it first. So we do that cardiovascular warm-up, we go right in and do the cardio, and then we go on to do the resistance training. I personally have always felt that's a better use of my time. I don't have to do that 7 to 10 minutes, then do weights, and then start again to ramp up with the cardio. I'm going to do all the cardio at once. I save that 7 to 10 minutes. I do that anyway, and then we can go right into the strength training because I'm already good and warmed up. I think that's a better use of time. I still might lean toward that, and I feel a little sharper, more alert, more awake to go into that strength training session personally. I'm in a better mood, right? You've actually released some of those endorphins and you are probably functioning a little bit better brain-wise as well. However, here's something I think we all need to consider. If you really want fat burning, one of the things you might want to consider is when you weight train, you're using the glycogen from all of your muscles to do that weight training. When you have a really great, significant weight training session, you've kind of used all the glycogen. You're probably feeling a little bit tired if it's been an adequate workout. Doing some walking afterward. We're not talking high intensity cardio. You could do a quick 2 to 5 minutes of high intensity interval training, get breathless, maybe 4 times, recover what you need in between. But you could also just walk for 20 to 30 minutes, kind of at a what we call zone 2. And I don't want to throw that in and get it complicated. But zone 2 training is you still are breathing nose and mouth. It's not totally nose. You're not doing low level activity, but you're not out of breath such that you have to do this. You're kind of going back and forth, which means like I'm doing right now, I could talk to you and I can still talk to you pretty well in complete sentences. You're going to appreciate that you're going to take a deeper breath. You're going to, talk a little bit more between the words and the breath. So you're going to intermix that. But you're in complete sentences. You're not out of breath. You're not getting to, quick, short words and hoping to ask questions so that the other person has to talk. You can talk fairly well. That's zone 2. So I just gave you 2 descriptions of how it feels. Zone 2 should feel like nose and mouth breathing, which is really what I'm doing now as I'm talking to you. I can talk pretty comfortably in full sentences. I'm not worried about my breathlessness. I'm not approaching that point. This is more or less kind of an all-day pace. Now, you might not go all day, but you feel like I can do this for a really long time. If I had adequate hydration and maybe a snack here and there, I could do this for a really long time. If we are just talking about zone 2, that's really where you want to be. It's, maybe up and down over rolling hills, but we're not talking putting any interval training in. We're just talking, this is manageable. I can do this. So I'm not going to suggest this needs to be rolling hills. It could be a flat and you're changing to a zone 2 by going with a little faster gait. You can do that too. That is zone 2, just so that you understand the difference between what is that in the description. But doing that, you're, not sprinting, and that's not the goal. But what you're doing is you're tapping into a little bit more use of fat for fuel because the glycogen is gone. Glycogen is stored blood sugar from, say, your last meal. So you had some carbohydrates at your meal and your body stores them in the muscle or in the liver. And if you bank muscle because you lift it, you have a little bit more of it. You're getting it put there instead of on your hips, your thighs, or that second wave goodbye. All of that's great news, right, for most of us. So if you deplete your glycogen by doing your strength training first and then walk later, you may find you burn a little bit more fat. And by the way, you want to walk for maybe 5 minutes or 10 minutes at the end of a strength training workout. That is a part of your cool down that a lot of us negate. We kind of get in a quick stretch, we're out the door. And if you're out the door and you're walking home, that's great. But if not, making sure that you're getting a little movement actually helps to increase circulation. As you increase circulation, you increase blood flow. That actually helps to get you kind of flushing out and starting to repair and recover that much faster. So it's not, again, that walk after the weights has to be taxing. Just enjoy it. Go your self-selected pace. And you may find that your fat burning is bumped up a little bit. So those are just things to consider. Now, if you have a really strong personal preference, I just like to do my cardio first because maybe you're not motivated to do your weights as much unless you boost your mood a little bit by doing the cardio first, then you're okay. The difference in the benefit, probably negligible. But if you've been doing it for a long time one way and you feel like I'm a little bit on a plateau, I'm not getting the results I want, this might be something to easily play with in order to get better results. So do your easy warm up. You got to move a little bit and do a little dynamic movement of, say, squats and lunges so that you're prepared for the strength training workout. Do the strength and then do your walking afterward, 20 to 30 minutes. You're still able to tap into that depleted glycogen status and give yourself a little boost in potentially fat burning. Remember that overall, I've done other videos on this. High intensity interval training will burn more fat overall, not just during, but after the activity, then will low-level walking. We're getting this confused a little bit because of the message that walking burns more fat. Remember this, it burns a higher percentage of fat, but your calorie burn is so much slower that it's a high number of a very small number, right? So think algebra versus you're burning a really high number of calories doing HIIT and a smaller percentage of fat for fuel, but a small percent of a really high number still ends up being more than a high percent of fat for fuel. Hope that makes sense. Ask questions if you've got them. All right, so here's to your cardio and your weights in the order that suits you best.